Story 1. Spend more time with my granddad and the dogs. I know I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, so I would ask for help and medication and glasses. I need glasses. Then I could have studied and applied myself better at school. More art. If I just kept practicing, I could probably make a living off my artwork now. I have so many things I'd go back and change. Story 2. Major in programming, buy a house in 2012 when I had a chance, sell it in 2021 for a ton of money, and move to Denmark. I am definitely happier in that timeline than I am in this messed up one. Story 3. 1. Tell the guy I dated for 2 years in high school, I know you are gay. You know you are gay. Stop hoping God will cure you. And stop using me as your beard, you little bastard. Invest every penny I could in Microsoft stock and Apple stock. Become a book conservator. Not marry Larry. Get a job in Britain, get citizenship, and never go back to the United States. Story 4. Are we talking about going back in time or being 16 right now? I'm assuming the former, but I would start creating applications that I know would be big hits, invest in stocks that I know will be successful, and so on. I also had a problematic household, so I'll seek help outside and pursue early prevention for illnesses that I know I will get. Story 5. Bitcoin was 2 cents when I was 16, and I was earning close to $500 to $600 a week and spending it on absolute nonsense. I had no bills or responsibilities at all. I knew exactly what I was doing at 16 years old. Story 6. In 2025 or 2004, when I was 16, the first time, I would absolutely socialize more and game less. Also, I would not start smoking. Additionally, I would collect all the money for Bitcoin. Story 7. I've been thinking about this a bit differently recently. The big decision would be, do I do things drastically differently with my knowledge now that I'm charting new waters, which would be more novel but still subject to missteps and regrets? You're just playing the game with better character traits and foresight. Or, do I try to follow the same relative path but excel in life with all my foreknowledge? Obviously, it's all out the window once you invest in Bitcoin or something. Story 8. Jump off the Eiffel Tower, maybe. Too much to endure as a 16-year-old, either in the past or as a teenager currently. Knowing too much as a teen is a recipe for truant behavior. Who among us would sit still in a classroom knowing what we know? Story 9. Push through finishing school, dropped out at 15, went back to get my high school diploma at 23. Stop dating guys. We all know you are a lesbian. Get therapy, go on medication. For all this advice, you will thank me later. Story 10. Start learning to code straight away and then get into the world of cryptocurrencies and learn how market manipulation works. Understand how to link the two knowledge bases together to create a way for me and my family to live a stress-free existence. Story 11. Am I going back in time to when I was 16? If so, then I'm doing everything the same but just a little different. If I just wake up as a 16-year-old, then I'm going to try as hard as I can to just continue with my life. I work from home, so I might actually be able to do it. Story 12. I would focus on learning valuable skills early, making smarter financial choices, and taking better care of my health. Basically, I would try to set myself up for success way sooner. Story 13. If I woke up on my 16th birthday, the first thing I would do would be to study diligently for my exams. My birthday is right at the end of the school year, and while present-day me could probably sail through some subjects without studying, others would be harder. Story 14. I didn't know streaming and YouTube would take off for me, so I would immediately do that and not waste any more time trying to do safe jobs. I would also work with musicians with a good work ethic, instead of talented musicians who didn't put in the effort. If you have something you're good at and you love it, learn to make money with it. Story 15. I would probably cry. I had to make a lot of hard choices and do a lot of very specific work to get to the life I have right now, and I am extremely happy with it. I am not sure, even knowing what I know, that I could make it work twice. Story 16. 1. Respect and take care of my parents more. 2. Invest in Bitcoin, land, gold, and health insurance. 3. Study diligently to get into a top institute. 4. Move to a different place that is quieter and cleaner. 5. Make more friends and keep in touch with them. Story 17. Get my mom tested for early onset Alzheimer's. Try having her in a treatment program or something. She started a rapid decline at 53. I would try and save her. Story 18. Honest to God, lawn care until I am 18. Register it as a business and expand it to earn more money. Save as much as possible and then start my own machine shop like I've wanted to do for a few years now but cannot since younger me was too foolish with money. Story 19. I'd spend more time with those I know were going to be lost along the way. Drink more water, get better sleep. Take finances more seriously but not too much. Story 20. I would be extremely miserable. I can't deal with teenagers anymore, but adults won't take me seriously. So, I would probably have hardly any friends or social contacts. Story 21. I think to myself every now and then if I had one wish, what would it be? And it's usually something along those lines. Though I'd also like to have a day's heads up before it happens and maybe take a notebook back with me with some important stock or cryptocurrency dates. Not to say that I'm sad or disappointed with my life, just wouldn't mind redoing some things. Hindsight is 2020, right? Story 22. I would buy GameStop stock. Back then, it was roughly $2.50 each. So even with a part-time job, it is manageable. I would not have known it would jump to $75 each in early 2021. Story 23. Cherish what little bit of a childhood I have recovered. And stay 200 pounds because I do not marry an insane person and spend 10 years stress eating. Things might be awkward with my current wife though. Story 24. I'd completely lose my composure because at that point, I was just starting to get along with this girl I really liked. She is my wife now, and we have been together for 13 years. Who knows how differently I might act as a 16-year-old with that extra knowledge. I could ruin it. I would also buy as much Bitcoin and Meta than Facebook as possible. Meta isn't necessarily the best performing company, but I like the idea of owning a significant part of the tech company that half the world uses daily. Story 25. The easy things would be investing money and starting my career in a better place. Taking the right school courses and so on. My late teens would also be much easier. I was quite immature for my age, and since I moved at 16, I would be able to have a fresh start on my social life, which I could handle better than I did at the time. I would have started my hobbies earlier, which would also have had large-scale butterfly effects on my work and social life. I would also seek medical help immediately, but not sure how I would try to convince my doctor to do all the necessary checks. You can't really just rock up and say, I have a tumor, but you won't know until we do X, Y, or Z tests. However, catching that 7 years early would mean a lot for my future. The hard parts would be how to orchestrate meeting some friends. For instance, I would want to steer clear of a past relationship that was not good for me. But that relationship led to me meeting people and having experiences that led to close friendships. How do you start those friendships without being disingenuous? What relations will you mess up the initial meetings of or sacrifice? I had a dog that I got with my ex-girlfriend once, and part of our approval was that we were a couple, so how does that factor in? And if I get that dog, how will his life be if I am the sole owner? And there is another factor. I would have wanted to move out of my country. Well then, how will this change all my potential relationships, pets, friends, and family? Do I stop my siblings from doing what I consider mistakes, but they currently don't? Also, what happens to my stories? I have a lot of history, and you either have to try to recreate those, which almost never works, or stop telling those stories, which is part of my current identity. I have some good stories that have impacted my life by telling them, but I would not want to re-experience them. Story 26. I'm 40 and recently lost my last parent. I was adopted, so I lost my first two at age 2. I'd like to think I've lived a lot of life and still have half a lifetime to go. I sprint so fast like Forrest Gump sprint. Healthy knees and joints watch me go. I remember the feeling of almost being weightless when I hit full stride. I'd have a much better hygiene regimen and get into therapy as soon as possible. I'd also have a bigger appreciation for who my parents are as individuals, not just my mom and dad but as themselves. As a son who lost his parents young, and a daughter raised in difficult conditions with so much trauma, I drive slower, ask more people out on dates, have a vastly different approach to my academic career, and not chase after the American dream, which will begin being wiped out after I graduate college anyway. Class of 2008. Story 27. Providing I don't have a mental breakdown on the spot, because at this phase of my life I wouldn't have had a successful military career, been married, and had kids with my wife. I didn't meet her until my early 20s, or had my own property. I'd do the following. 1. Find my wife, somehow explain to her that we're married with kids and have our own house. I'll probably get arrested and thrown into a padded cell. On second thought, I'd probably have to hold off on this one and just make sure I bump into her the night we met in 2018. Join the military sooner, use my experience, and jumpstart my career 5 years early rather than joining in my early 20s. I'd make sure the same opportunities come my way as before. Start laying the groundwork for my current job. I'd be ahead of the curve here, seeing in 2008 things such as social media, cyber warfare, and network engineering were in their infancy. Place some crazy bets like on who won the European Championship, World Cup, and who was elected into power. Tell my friend Phil to cut down on the drinking. He died in 2018. I'd rather prevent that. Completely avoid my two exes. One was controlling, and the other was unfaithful and controlling. Still suffer a mental breakdown as I'm too busy rushing to reach the future when I need to just calm down and live in the present, which is impossible because I've already lived it. Story 28. If we're talking about changing the past, I don't think I would want to change anything. Whether it's the good, the bad, or the ugly, I'm content with it. Life is imperfect, and I believe that's what makes it beautiful. Now, coming to the real question, if I woke up as my 16-year-old self but retained all my current knowledge and experience, I would still choose the same path I've taken. I enjoy what I do. Maybe it's not always thrilling or exciting, but over the years, I have consciously chosen this life. Have I made mistakes in the past? Of course. But do I want to change them? No. A person is like an onion. If you start peeling away the layers, you'll eventually be left with nothing. We are who we are because of our past. If I were 16 again with all my current knowledge and experience, I would likely struggle to connect with people my age and might not fit in. The restrictions of that age would probably feel suffocating, given what I now know. I would definitely feel alienated. However, human nature is adaptable, and if that were my reality, I believe I would find a way to navigate it successfully. If someone thinks they would achieve wonders with the same knowledge, I don't believe that's necessarily true. You are who you are. I only regret my past when I compare myself to others. Otherwise, I'm completely fine with it. I choose to accept myself and my life as it is. After all, I'm just one individual among 8 billion people on this planet. I'm not as important as I sometimes think I am, but at the same time, I am as important as the things I love doing. My happiness comes from that, and that's enough for me. Yes, I can't imagine dating a girl of my age with the experience and knowledge I have. Story 29. Use everything I know to gain as much money as possible and game the system to the absolute floor. A lot of important people would not survive back to the present day. Story 30. Assuming this is a go-back-in-time deal, mourn the vanishing of my life with my girlfriend and fiancé, and the loss of our puppy and cats. Then I'd agonize over whether I should try to get in touch with them, in case they also remember everything, or if that would potentially mess up the timeline and mean we'd never get together. I'd probably put a couple of posts up on early internet social media, trying to find if other people had experienced the same thing. And among that, well, technology and ongoing life events mean I'd be able to make a lot of money, so I don't need to worry about that. I'd also get myself to a therapist and start my gender transition way earlier than I was able to in this timeline. Hopefully, some well-placed comments and suggestions would mean my dad would actually get to a doctor before his cancer got so bad it required surgery and organ removal. Learn about my heritage from my godfather and different heritage from my grandfather before their passing robs me of the chance. But overall, try to keep the major beats of my life the same as before, so that I'd still meet all my awesome friends and my partners, and not have basically the only good part of my life be lost forever because of the reset. Story 31. Am I waking up tomorrow as a random 16-year-old in my current timeline but still have my knowledge and experience from my life as a 36-year-old? Or am I going back in time and waking up as 16-year-old me with 36-year-old me's knowledge and experience? It reads more like the first option. Either way, I can tell you I would start in the gym much sooner this time and also travel more. Story 32. Getting that cheese is the easy part. Staying off the radar would take a lot of effort and luck. If the wrong people notice someone making perfect moves at every turn, you're going to end up tortured, dead, or with all assets frozen, running for the rest of your life. I personally could not handle the sheer psychological magnitude of the past 20 years being erased. My children would be the biggest thing. The circumstances to recreate them as I know and love them would be astronomically low. I met my wife in high school, so that wouldn't be hard to pull off, but man, I don't know. I don't know how I could face her knowing I had children with her in another timeline and lost them. There are just so many regrets and things I could turn around, but so many things I'm grateful for here too. I would most definitely stop the Star Wars sequels though. And I'd buy Jersey Mike's. Maybe start a land war in Asia.